When people say that Taurus doesn't forget, when they say that he remembers every word, every absence, every promise that wasn't kept, they think they're describing resentment. But resentment is an emotion that rots from the inside, that corrodes the one who carries it. What Taurus does is something else. It's record-keeping. It's a notebook kept in a drawer that nobody sees, but where every number is written down, waiting for the day when the accounts will finally balance. And here's the question I want you to take away from this video. What if this notebook wasn't about revenge at all? What if it was actually about a reckoning that the universe itself promised to make long before you were born under this sign? Because there's something Taurus feels that they can almost never explain with words. It's not an abstract idea of loss. It's a physical sensation, an emptiness that fills space, as if something has been taken from the body, not from life. You've probably felt it before. That place inside your chest that seems to retain the exact shape of someone who's no longer there. Or that pocket that feels lighter, even when the money that came out of it has been replaced by something else. It's like the mark a heavy piece of furniture leaves on the carpet after years of standing in the same spot. You move the furniture, but the design remains, etched in, as if the space refuses to forget what was once filled there. And it's precisely this detail that no one taught you to observe. This emptiness never goes away on its own. It doesn't disappear with time, as people say. It waits. And what it waits for often takes so long that you begin to believe that that empty space is permanent, that what left your life left forever. It was a love that never returned. It was money that slipped through your fingers during a difficult time. It was a whole lifetime invested in someone who never reciprocated the same care. It was an opportunity that passed before your eyes and you couldn't hold on to it. And the worst part isn't the loss itself. The worst part is the silence that follows. That period when nothing seems to move, when you look around and see no sign that things will change. You start to wonder if you did something wrong, if you deserved it, if the universe simply forgot about you along the way. There's a curious detail about Taurus that astrology rarely explains properly. It's the sign most connected to material things, to what can be touched and felt with one's own hands. Perhaps that's why loss hurts them so deeply. For Taurus, what's gone leaves a hole in the physical world, not just the emotional one. The empty chair at the table, the silence on the phone where there used to be a message every day. While the other signs move on quickly, Taurus stays there, feeling every inch of that emptiness, almost watching over something that doesn't yet know if it's dead or just sleeping. To an outsider, it seems like stubbornness. But inside, it's the body refusing to accept that that space will remain empty. But I need to ask you a question before we continue, because it will change everything that follows. What if that emptiness you feel in your chest, that space that seems permanent, wasn't really empty? What if beneath the surface where nothing seems to be happening, something was silently reorganizing itself to return to you, different but whole? Have you ever felt that no matter how much you advance, there seems to be an envious energy surrounding you that weakens your motivation, your achievements, and even your inner peace? What if what you call bad luck, blockages, or constant wear and tear is actually an invitation to see your life from a new perspective? Many believe that they just work harder, insist more, or wait for time to solve everything. But what if true change begins when you understand the 12 laws of the universe that help each zodiac sign overcome spiritual envy? Now think about this. What if every obstacle, every disappointment, every feeling of stagnation, and every moment you felt your energy was drained hid a lesson you haven't yet realized? What if knowing these laws could transform the way you face your challenges, strengthen your confidence, and protect your inner peace? It was in seeking answers to these reflections that the digital book, The 12 Laws of the Universe, that help the zodiac sign overcome spiritual envy was born. More than just a simple read, it brings together teachings, interpretations, and exercises to help you understand patterns, develop a more conscious attitude, and cultivate a stronger mindset in the face of difficulties. Many people have already begun this journey of self-discovery and found a new way to look at their challenges. Now it's your turn. Access to the digital book is available in the first pinned comment. Don't miss the opportunity to learn a perspective that can transform how you face spiritual envy, strengthen your energy, and continue your journey with more clarity. Click now and discover how the 12 laws of the universe can become a guide to a more conscious, balanced, and resilient life. If you've gotten this far feeling a little tight in your chest, it's because some part of you has already recognized this story as your own. And it's precisely at this point, still within the discomfort, still processing, that a change of perspective works best. Not after the pain has passed. Now, while it's still fresh and you can still clearly feel what needs to be resolved within yourself. The link is in the first pinned comment. But be aware, this content may be taken down. Click now and download your copy. And while you decide, leave a comment below. What do you most want to get back today? Time, money, or trust in someone? Taurus is ruled by Earth, and Earth has a law that physics confirms and astrology has always known. Nothing is lost, everything is transformed. No particle truly disappears. It changes shape, changes place, changes function, but continues to exist at some point in the system. It's the same law that governs a leaf fallen on the forest floor. It doesn't become nothing, it becomes earth. And that earth later becomes a root. And that root later becomes fruit on another tree, which may not even be in the same place where the leaf fell. Think about this carefully, because this is the key to everything you are about to understand about your own life. If nothing truly disappears, where was everything that seemed to have vanished from your story all this time? The answer is unsettling, because it takes away your easiest excuse, that you lost it forever, and it places a quieter responsibility on you to recognize when what you lost is finally transforming back into something you can hold on to again. Notice something that almost no one stops to observe. Taurus's own body already knows this, even before the mind accepts it. That's why they plant trees that they will only harvest years later. That's why they invest time in relationships that don't yield immediate returns. That's why they save, conserve, and build slowly, even when everyone around them has already given up and gone after quick results. Deep down, Taurus has always known, in a way they can't always explain, that harvesting requires first giving something to the earth and accepting not seeing anything for a while. The problem isn't the law itself. The problem is trusting it when the loss hurts so much that it seems impossible to believe in any return. There is a period between loss and return that almost no Taurus knows how to navigate peacefully. It's the period of silence, that time when nothing seems to move. You look at your life and see no new fruit, no sprout, no sign that things are about to change. It's like looking at an orchard in the middle of winter. The trees are bare, the ground is cold. There is no visible proof that beneath that dry bark, the sap continues to flow silently, nourishing from within what will bloom later. And it is precisely during this period that Taurus doubts himself the most. He begins to think he did something wrong, that perhaps he deserves that emptiness, that perhaps the universe has, in fact, forgotten him along the way, while it continues taking care of everyone else's life except his own. But I need to tell you something that completely changes this feeling. The silence that scares Taurus the most is not abandonment. It's precision. It's the exact sound of preparation. Because no harvest ripens with noise. It ripens in the dark, out of sight, precisely while it seems that nothing is happening. If this silence has ever knocked on your door, you know how heavy it is. It's in this kind of waiting that many Tauruses lose confidence in their own ability to rebuild. To get through this period with more awareness, there's the digital book, The 12 Laws of the Universe, that help this zodiac sign overcome spiritual envy. It brings together teachings and exercises to understand what silence truly prepares, instead of fearing it. For Taurus, who needs real security, these laws act as firm ground to stand on while the harvest is not yet visible. The link is in the first pinned comment. The last copies are running out. Click now and begin your journey towards the clarity and genius you deserve. But there's a mistake that many Tauruses make precisely during this waiting period, and it's what most delays any return: the attempt to force the harvest before its time. It's insisting, demanding, calling again, sending another message, returning to the same place where everything happened, trying to make time pass faster by the force of their own will. It's like pulling a seedling by the stem to make it grow faster. The gesture that should nourish ends up tearing out the root that was still establishing itself underground. Taurus rarely realizes he's doing this because for him, persisting seems like care, like commitment, like the only correct way to honor what has been built. But there's a huge difference between watering a plant and pulling it out of the ground to see if the root has grown enough. And the more he persists, the further the return seems to move away, because he's spending, in an attempt to accelerate, exactly the energy he should be saving to recognize the right moment to receive back what is his. What he needs to let go of, then, is not the desire to recover what he has lost. It's the urgency to control how and when that will happen. There is a subtle but decisive difference between waiting with arms crossed and waiting with open hands. The first is passive, resigned, almost bitter. The second is active, but in a different way than Taurus is used to. It tends to the land that can still be tended, cultivates what is still within its reach, and at the same time leaves in peace what has already been given over to the process. It's the difference between watering the plants every day and digging up the seed every morning just to check if it has already taken root. One nourishes, the other destroys exactly what it was trying to protect. And there's a profound reason why Taurus has so much difficulty trusting this kind of waiting. From a very young age, they were taught that security is built with one's own hands, with visible effort, with control over every detail. Letting go, for them, never seemed prudent. It always seemed risky. But there's a different kind of prudence, rarer, that only those who have lost and received back can recognize. The prudence of knowing when to stop digging, because the act of continuing to dig at that exact point no longer protects anything. It only delays. And when Taurus finally releases this urgency, something changes, not noisily, almost imperceptibly, like a harvest that arrives without warning. One day the field is still empty, the next, without any announced sign, it is covered. That is the nature of the return. It rarely gives warning. It simply happens at the moment when Taurus is no longer counting the days, is no longer measuring the size of the void, has already begun, even without realizing it, to get used to a different kind of peace. But there's one detail that no one prepares Taurus for. When the return finally arrives, it almost never takes the same form as what was lost. The money that's gone might come back as an opportunity, not as the same amount. The person who's gone might return as a lesson embodied in a completely different person. The lost time might return as a clarity that only exists because that time was lived in that specific way. And then comes the most uncomfortable question of this whole story. Why, when it finally returns, does it almost never take the same form Taurus expected? Perhaps because the old version has already served its purpose, and insisting on recovering it exactly as it was would be asking the universe to go backward when it only knows how to move forward, transforming everything it touches. Recognizing a return when it changes form is one of the most difficult skills to develop, especially for those taught to trust only what they can touch and recognize immediately. That's exactly what the digital book, The 12 Laws of the Universe, that helped the zodiac sign overcome spiritual envy is about. It offers reflections and practical exercises to train your perception of disguised returns, helping you avoid missing out on what the universe is already giving you back at this very moment. Access is for a limited time. The link is in the first pinned comment. The last copies are running out. Click now and begin your journey towards the clarity and genius you deserve. There's a scene that perfectly sums up this challenge. Imagine you plant a seed, and years later, without warning, someone gives you back a mature tree, full of fruit, strong, with deep roots. But you don't recognize this tree as yours, because it's no longer the small seed you remember planting. It has grown, it has changed shape, it has gained a strength that the original seed never had on its own. And that's precisely why many Tauruses, without realizing it, reject what the universe is giving back, because the face of return is different from the face of loss. Think about how many times this may have happened to you. An opportunity that arrived disguised as difficult work, and you refused it because it didn't look like what you expected. A person who arrived bringing the same kind of care you lost, but with a different face, and you didn't let them get close because the memory of what was lost still outweighed the possibility of what was coming. How many rejections has Taurus unknowingly refused, simply because they came in a form they weren't ready to recognize? Recognizing a disguised retaliation requires a type of sensitivity that most of us have never learned to cultivate, especially those who, like Taurus, trust their eyes and hands first. The digital book, The 12 Laws of the Universe that help this zodiac sign overcome spiritual envy, was created precisely for this. Teachings and reflections that help you go beyond the comfort you've built as armor, seeing more clearly each opportunity, each person, each sign that the universe places in your path. The last available units are running out. The link is in the first pinned comment. The last copies are running out. Click now and begin your journey towards the clarity and genius you deserve. There's an image that sums up everything Taurus needs to learn about this cycle. And it doesn't come from any astrology book, it comes from the countryside. It's the image of the farmer who plants, tends to the land, and then walks away. He doesn't stay above the soil, digging every day to see if the roots have grown. He trusts. He knows there's a process happening beneath the surface that the eyes can't see, and that interrupting this process, just to check if it's working, is the surest way to destroy it. And that's what Taurus is being invited to learn throughout this whole story. It's not about giving up on caring. It's about trusting the time the earth needs to transform what has been planted. Because in the end, the most beautiful truth about Taurus isn't that it never loses anything. It's that it's the only sign capable of understanding in body and soul that losing and recovering are part of the same movement. The same earth that receives the seed is the one that returns the fruit. The same silence that frightens is what prepares the harvest. And the same emptiness that hurts so much will one day, without warning, without noise, reveal itself as the exact space where something new, bigger, and more its own than ever was being formed. You didn't lose what you lost. You lent it, for a time, to the process that only the earth understands. And if there's any certainty that the Taurus sky holds, it's this: everything that was truly yours, one day, in one way or another, always returns home. And perhaps that's why, among all the signs, Taurus is the only one that can look at an empty field and not feel despair, but rather a kind of silent, almost stubborn faith that there beneath the surface that no one else sees, something continues to happen. This faith doesn't come from naive optimism. It comes from experience. It comes from having already weathered winters like this before, and having seen, even without understanding exactly how, spring arrive again, bringing back what seemed lost, and sometimes bringing back more than what was once gone. If you've come this far feeling the weight of something that hasn't yet returned, let that certainty rest within you, even if it still hurts. The earth never forgets what was planted in it. And you, Taurus, were never meant to give up in the middle of winter. You were made to traverse the entire silence, knowing deep down that the harvest, sooner or later, always comes.